Lacrimosa in waiting for the Islamic Republic of Iran. That's what many thought back at the height of the street protests in January and again at the outset of the current campaign in late February. Yet now, as we move towards the end of April, the Islamic Republic remains strained, challenged, but also resilient and somewhat defiant too. The question for many is not only what comes next, but whether the region is, in fact, safer today than it was a few months ago. You're watching Context. I'm Orkan Amashov here. Joining me now in the studio is Mr. Jason Isaacson, Chief Policy and Political Affairs Officer at the American Jewish Committee, a senior analyst of US political and strategic affairs, and an indefatigable advocate for Arab-Israeli peace and normalization. Welcome to Context, Mr. Isaacson.
Good to be here, Orkan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A lot happened in our region over the past few months, but my first question is going to be about your particular purpose attached to your visit to Azerbaijan. What brings you to this country on this occasion?
Well, of course, this is a country that my organization has been engaged with for many years. First opportunity for me to be here, but I have been so eager to come and to engage officials of the government, civil society leaders, people in the Jewish community, and journalists to talk about the benefits of the relationship between Azerbaijan and the United States, the strategic importance of Azerbaijan to the State of Israel, the role that Azerbaijan plays to advance stability and security across this region, and look to the future, a future beyond the challenges that we're facing in the current moment.
I mean, currently in, well, probably not late April, but April 2026, do you think our region, South Caucasus, the wider region, is much safer than it was just a few months ago? I mean, we witnessed something very dramatic on the 5th of March. Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan airport was attacked in an Iranian drone attack. It was a moment which made everybody in this region, I suppose, shudder. Azerbaijan wants to navigate the complex relationship involving Iran and Israel. Where are we now in terms of major security parameters, you think?
Well, one must also say that Azerbaijan is in the most delicate situation, geographically, politically, geopolitically. You have complicated neighbors. And the neighbor that you have in Iran is, of course, a neighbor that poses challenges across the region. We are hopeful that we will get through the current moment, the current crisis, with a negotiated settlement that will result in Iran no longer posing a threat to all of its neighbors, to destabilizing its neighbors, and to even threatening neighbors with which it has a civilizational relationship. So this is a delicate moment. It's a difficult moment. And of course, the destruction that's been caused by Iran over the years is something that we're very concerned about. And the potential that that country, with its radical regime, would have the possibility of advancing a nuclear program, a military nuclear program, is frightening and must be stopped. But if we can move on a negotiating track, if the negotiations that began a short while ago and we hope are resuming can be successful, and you have an agreement by Iran no longer to pose a nuclear threat to its neighbors and no longer supporting proxy terrorist organizations across the region and living like a normal country in this region as a good neighbor to your country, it will be a very positive outcome to this very complicated moment that we're in right now.
Do you think such an objective could be attained with the current system there remaining intact?
It's challenging. Of course, President Trump has talked about the fact that the regime has undergone a transformation. We're waiting to see the outcome of the transformation that is in progress. Certainly a number of leaders are no longer leading the country, but there is still a hardened, radical sense of the existing government, even if it's a somewhat weakened government, that doesn't seem to suggest they are ready for the kind of transformative change that we were all hoping for. Perhaps with a little greater pressure and a little more time at the negotiating table, we'll see that positive development. We haven't yet seen it.
And President Donald Trump himself has been sending mixed signals. I mean, just a few weeks ago, he said that one civilization would die or might die, referring to Islamic Republic of Iran, presumably. And the day after, he said that it could be the beginning of a new peace arrangement in the Middle East. What do you make of those mixed signals? What do they entail, or what they are aiming at?
It's sometimes a little hard to figure it out. I admit that. But I believe if you sort of step back, this is a man who has a long history of negotiations at a very high level. using various pressure tactics and a lot of noise that sometimes confuses the enemy or the antagonist at the other side of the negotiating table. I believe that with a combination of the military pressure that has been applied, with the very severe degradation to the military capabilities of Iran, and with the unity that we are seeing across the region, that there needs to be a change. It cannot return to business as usual with Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and also a great sense of solidarity with the Iranian people who have been subject to the most severe repression for 47 years. That if we can see some sort of a change at the top in that whatever exists of the current regime, combined with the degradation of their weaponry, which of course has been evident in the thousands of sorties that American planes have been able to, and missiles have been able to wreak in terms of the destruction of a lot of their capabilities, combined with the help that Israel has provided to the American-led effort, with that sense of the region's solidarity for a change, necessity for change, I think that we're finally going to apply the kind of pressure that is necessary to make it clear to the Iranian regime that still does exist that it has to conform to some kind of normal standard of behavior. The revolutionary sense that has driven them for 47 years is rejected by their own people, rejected by the neighborhood, rejected by the international community. We're hopeful that finally that message will sink in and we'll see a real change.
One of the fundamental things about the current ideology of Islamic Republic of Iran is that they officially talk about the destruction of Jewish state as their key aims, and that has been the case since 1979. Probably there should be official sort of declaration that that's no longer the case. Do you imagine such a scenario when Iran's officials, leadership will say that, well, that was the case before, but no longer the case?
I very much hope so.
That's all about the regime change.
I mean, after all, before the Islamic Republic's revolution, the Islamic Revolution of 1979, there was a normal relationship between Iran and the State of Israel. There is a long history of Jewish presence in that country as well. There's no reason why this has to be baked into the future of Iran. But you need to have a regime that is not intent on this radical pursuit that it has been engaged in for 47 years. And I'm hopeful that with the application not only of military pressure, but diplomatic pressure, and the clear sense from their neighbors that they want a normal relationship with that country. They want trade, they want economic development, they want interchange in a whole range of fields, education and medical services and all the rest of the normal exchanges that you would have between neighbors. Why should the Islamic Republic continue on the path that it's on? Why should it not change into a much more positive direction? We're hopeful that that's the direction this takes.
How do you see Azerbaijan's challenge at this very juncture? Azerbaijan has got its treaty ally, Turkey, signed Shusha Declaration back in 2021. It's a proper treaty. They are allies. Azerbaijan has vital strategic partnership with Israel, which is incredibly valuable to this country and to Israel as well. Azerbaijan is currently working on the strategic partnership with the United States. The working group was established, charter was signed in February of this year when J.D. Vance was visiting this country. Azerbaijan also wants to have neighborly, functional relations with Iran based on connectivity and other economic projects. How do you see Azerbaijan's challenge at such a moment when Iran is being attacked by US and Israel, and Azerbaijan needs to retain its good relation with Iran?
Well, it's an excruciating challenge that you face. And it's, by the way, it's not only Iran, but it may be most severe in the case of Iran. You also have a historic relationship with Russia, which is a complicated neighbor as well. I understand that, and puts pressure on this region in general. And you have a brotherly relationship with Turkey, which is very important. I know that. But you're sandwiched between powers that have conflicting agendas from the agenda of Azerbaijan, which, by the way, is a model for multiculturalism, for pluralism, for tolerance, a message that I very much hope to be able to transmit when I come back to Washington, and I think needs to be told even more loudly, forcefully than it has been in the past. We will do what we can, but you face severe challenges on several fronts. In particular, of course, you have a neighbor on your south with a radical agenda. that has already attacked your country. Whether intentionally or not, there were missiles that flew into part of your country. We are hopeful, I am hopeful, that you will see, because of the strategic partnership that you now have with the United States, because of the Charter for Strategic Partnership that was signed by J.D. Vance, the Vice President, earlier this year with your government, you will have a greater military cooperation, security cooperation, in addition to economic cooperation, to increased trade, to increased investment, embedding Azerbaijan more deeply into the sort of Western architecture, as well as, of course, your presence and key role in this region. You're not going to be in any one camp. You're going to have to find ways to navigate all that, as Azerbaijan has always had to do. But what an asset this country poses as a partner to the United States, a partner to Israel, which shares many values with this country, a vision for stability and security in this region, and an ability to work with your great neighbor to the west, your brotherly neighbor in Turkey, but also through time you have found ways to somehow navigate even the very complicated relationship with Russia on one side of your country and Iran on the other. So I have great confidence that Azerbaijan will, in this complicated environment, find a way forward.
Well, everybody is saying that Islamic Republic of Iran is an incredibly unpredictable entity. When they attacked Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan airport, that was quite unpredictable, out of blue, basically. And they never admitted the fact that they attacked. President Pezeshkian and Foreign Minister was talking about diplomacy, but IRGC commanders were using different language and different rhetoric. And recently, we know, on the 20th of April, basically yesterday, three very crucial Israeli entities, security intelligence entities, issued a joint statement talking about what happened in Azerbaijan, about the foiled Iranian attempt to target a number of important targets, including Baku, Tbilisi, Ceyhan connectivity piece, effectively oil pipeline. So Iran is incredibly unpredictable. Do you think this country has got what it takes to actually limit any danger that may come from that part of the world?
I have great confidence in the ability of the intelligence and security services of this country in cooperation with your partners. And that includes my country, and that includes also the State of Israel, and other neighboring countries that share values and traditions and history with Azerbaijan, that you'll be able to defeat those enemies of stability and peace in this region.
One more thing about Azerbaijan-Israeli relations. These two countries are strategic partners. There has been one particular school of thought that everything's very transactional. Basically, Israel needs Azerbaijani oil, Azerbaijan needs Israeli weapons, and it's really all about that transactional spirit. There's nothing, I don't want to use the word spiritual, but there's nothing beyond transactionalism. What is your evaluation of evolving relations between these two countries?
I reject that narrative. I've heard that narrative,
yep.
and there is a surface truth to some of it, but it's so much deeper than that. I mean, there's a civilizational relationship. I mean, there have been Jews who have been living on this land for centuries, many centuries, and interacting pleasantly, congenially, with mutual respect and affection with all of the other constituencies that exist on the land. So I know it's a whole lot more than just a trade of weapons for oil. There is a common sense that greater stability in the region will be served by that kind of a relationship. There is a people-to-people relationship that I have seen with my own eyes just in the couple of days that I've been here already. And I know that that's the commitment, certainly, of the leadership of this country, and has been for a great many years. So it's much more than just that sort of simple narrative that people often convey.
But currently, Azerbaijan and the United States are strategic partners. Yes. Charter has been signed. And Trump Route for International Peace and Prosperity, that infrastructure enabling Azerbaijan's two parts to be connected via Seznamini, is an important connectivity element there. And some analysts are saying that today's relations, although two countries signed the strategic charter, is all about President Trump's personality. When the new power will come to power, will be in Washington D.C. in the Charter of Affairs of the Nation, the attitude will change. To what extent the current relationship is about something beyond party politics, you think?
Well, it's beyond the big personality of our current president. I think you will continue to see going forward through the next administrations, plural, a recognition of the strategic partnership value that the United States and Azerbaijan share. It's good for both countries, and it's good for stability in this region. And yes, our president has a big personality and puts his name on certain things, including TRIP. But that corridor will serve the interests of Azerbaijan, will ultimately serve the interests of Armenia, serve the interests of Turkey, serve the interests of Central Asia, will be just a conduit for increased trade and connectivity in ways that will serve stability and peace across this region. And whoever's name is on it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It will be one of the great legacies of President Trump, of course, but it is an investment by the United States in advancing stability and peace in this region and prosperity in this region.
Do you believe the war in Iran, its continuation, could actually delay the implementation of the project?
This is a problem, as it's a problem in so many other respects as well, because the instability caused by a radical regime on your south is complicating the path toward the kind of progress that the leadership of this great country wants to pursue. But we'll get through this period. I'm confident that either through a negotiating process or through an application of pressure in other ways, we will find a way out of the current dilemma, and you will have a much more stable region.
Just last year in April, President Aliyev talked about Azerbaijan's relation with Turkey and Israel and said that Azerbaijan wants its two major friends to be friendly. And after that particular speech, there were some sort of talks in Azerbaijan between Israeli and Turkish officials. What do you make of Azerbaijan's desire to see Turkey and Israel to be in friendly terms?
I have great hopes for and confidence in President Aliyev and his relationships with both of those important countries. And certainly something must be done to heal the really grave rift that has grown between Turkey and Israel. And no country would be better positioned than Azerbaijan to try to find some way to de-escalate these tensions and resume the kind of normal relationship that served both countries very well in the past.
I mean, how concerned should we be when it comes to rhetoric employed by some Israeli politicians that after the Islamic Republic of Iran, Turkey will be the next target? How concerned should we be about this particular rhetoric?
You know, people write and say the craziest things. There is simply no truth in that. There's no desire on the part of Israel to attack Turkey. There have been very ugly things that have been said from senior officials or advisors or people with a platform of some kind in Turkey about Israel. I reject those, just as I reject the extremist statements that one hears or the mischaracterizations that one sometimes hears also in Israel about the desire of Turkey. But these are two important countries in this region. They have a history of getting along together. They have a lot that they can accomplish together as they have in the past. We would like to see the government of Turkey kind of calm down in its estimation of Israel. But I think with your help, we'll get to that point.
So you believe Azerbaijan has a positive role to play in terms of bringing those two countries together?
I'm counting on the spirit that I have seen just in the days that I've been in Azerbaijan, the days that I've been in Baku, the spirit of tolerance and mutual respect. I hope infecting the larger region. I'm really confident that we'll get to that point.
Mr. Isaacson, I'm so grateful to you for your time and for your answers. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Well, a great deal has happened across the wider Middle East in recent months. For Azerbaijan, of course, the challenge is a delicate one to navigate between its allied relationship with Turkey, its strategic, absolutely vital partnership with Israel, and at the same time to ensure that its growing strategic engagement with the United States is not undermined by its desire to maintain neighborly relations with Iran. You've been watching Context. I'm Orkun Amershow, and see you very soon indeed.